Welcome to ARDEX Answers podcast, where you'll find the latest and greatest on flooring, tiling and waterproofing, as well as general construction for the Australian building industry.
Welcome back to ARDEX Answers. My name is Adam McGlone, and today I'm joined by John Werlemann from our Technical Services Department, and we will be discussing levelling over Hebel. So John, what is Hebel?
Well, Adam, Hebel is a lightweight building product. It usually comes in panels. It's used for floors and walls. One of its distinct advantages is that it is an insulating product. People do tend to use it because it is a way to create some type of greenhouse that's well insulated. But issues with Hebel is there are some construction challenges with it due to its lightweight nature and its softness. So I'm sure we'll discuss those.
So why does levelling over Hebel require a different approach compared to standard concrete?
Well, Adam, it's all about the softness of the Hebel. Normally with construction systems, it's usually the soft goes over the harder ones. It's not the other way around. So the issue with putting a hardened, relatively brittle levelling compound over a soft substrate is there's significant risks of cracking and damage to both the levelling compound and the Hebel.
So you just mentioned compressive strength. How does that affect product choice and the installation methods?
Well, Adam, there's a couple of things to consider here. Like when people are doing sort of installation of our types of products, it's not necessarily what's under the product you're putting in, it's what's actually going to be installed over it. So with the low compressive strength of Hebel, that's going to provide a lot of challenges for certain types of floor covering, namely vinyl, where there's the potential for show through and perhaps fracture of the levelling compound and damage to the Hebel, or there's direct stick timber, which is normally applied over a levelling compound. But the problem with direct stick timber is that you can have or massive changes in humidity will change the dimensional stability of the timber, and quite often if that's excessive, that can actually pull the levelling compound off the Hebel itself. So that is a significant challenge. So you really have to think about what is it that I'm going to put over the Hebel. Yes, Hebel's got a lot of advantages, but there are some things that just it's not a great idea to do.
In our technical bulletin, it recommends using 2 coats of primer. Can you walk us through why this step is so critical?
Oh, not a problem, Adam. It's all about the porosity of the Hebel. It's kind of like a big sponge, and the issue with our levelling compounds is they do contain a lot of water, and they need that water to hydrate the cement. The problem is if you don't prime the Hebel, then the Hebel is going to suck all the moisture out of the levelling compound and potentially make it weak. Now, I've had a bit of a read of the technical bulletin, and it talks about using P51 primer prior to the levelling, and the first coat is diluted 1:3 with water, and the second coat is diluted 1:1. So in other words, your low viscosity first coat is really penetrating into the sponge, the Hebel, and the second one is basically sealing it off. So you've got a surface that's perfect for levelling.
When using ARDEX E25 additive, can you explain why it can be essential and what performance difference it can make?
Well, what it is, Adam, is E25, ARDEX E25, is essentially a polymer liquid, a dispersion in water. But when you add it to a levelling compound, for example K15 or K12, it actually gives it a degree of flexibility. And that flexibility is vital over a substrate like Hebel because what it's going to do is make it more compatible with the Hebel. So any change, any dimensional instability will be transferred to the levelling compound and not sort of just to the Hebel and potentially fracture it. So, and the E25 is critical for applications of direct stick timber for the reasons I mentioned before, which is once again dimensional instability due to moisture. So E25 is something that's added in anything we would call a high stress situation. Okay, and that could even be, say for example, if in-floor heating was installed over the Hebel, or in the levelling compound over the Hebel, you'd think about using the E25.
What are some common mistakes or challenges, and how can installers avoid them?
Well, the big mistakes are, it sort of goes back to the first points we were talking about. One, of course, is the priming. If you don't get that right, you're going to pretty much destroy the levelling compound and suck all the moisture out of it. And something that people don't really consider when they're putting these products in place is what they're going to do over the top. So as I mentioned before, vinyl and direct stick timber are quite unique applications that require certain things about the substrate. Like, for example, it could mean your levelling compound's got to be a certain thickness. We normally recommend at least 5 millimetres over the top of a Hebel, otherwise it would potentially fracture. And we also recommend the E25, which is important for dimensional stability as well. So, yeah, the mistakes are if you don't consider what's underneath and what's on top. So if you're only looking at the meat in the sandwich and not considering the bread on each side, there might be a problem.
Based off your experience, John, what are some top tips you would give installers when levelling over Hebel?
The main thing I would say to them is to do their homework. Okay, there are resources, for example, the technical bulletins on the ARDEX website, as you mentioned, TB105, where it clearly states to consider the substrate they're going, the treatment of the Hebel, the priming, and what it is they're going to do over the top of the Hebel, whether that be timber, vinyl, tiling. Tiling is always like a default type of installation, like there aren't too many problems because loads are evenly dispersed. There are no point loads, but the next tip I'd give is read the product data sheets for the products you're considering using, because not all levelling compounds are suitable for use over Hebel. Like, some are unsuitable, some that are suitable require additives, for example the E25. So it's same as anything, Adam, you've really got to do your homework.
Well, that was a great discussion, John, and for all resources, that can be found in the description below. And John, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Adam, it's been a pleasure, okay? I'd like to do it again.
Bye for now.